Right, this week, don't quite know where to start really. We've got that much on at the moment. So we'll get into it and we will show you what we've been up to. Right, we'll start with the Blue Stag. We've also got the engine for the green TR7 V8. We're going to look at that in a minute, and quite a lot of other stuff. Right, but the Blue Stag. So beginning of the week, we got it on. Well, it was on the lift last week, but at the beginning of the week, we got all the rear suspension stripped off of it, and we've started sorting all that out and refurbishing like the rear tray and arms, rebushing them, etc. So if we have a quick look over here, so we've got the tray and arms off, and they've all been cleaned down. Got rid of all the old underseal and that off of them, so they're nice, clean looking aluminium again. And we've got brand new polybush mounts. So these are now ready to get back on the car. So we've got a lot of new nuts. We've got pretty much all new nuts and bolts for it as well. We've got brand new springs and shocks. As well, for the price of the springs and the shocks, we can't clean and refurbish the old ones for that. Although there's nothing actually wrong with the shocks on the car. They're quite manky looking. Same with the springs, and we just can't clean and refurbish them so they look new again for the same price as we can buy new ones. And plus, they're new; they're not 50 years old, so we'll fit the new springs and shocks to it. To get the rear suspension back on, all we've got to do is clean and paint up all the drive shafts and rear backplate assemblies, and then we can reassemble it all and get it back on its wheels. And then the next stage of the car will be the front suspension, but not just at the moment. So we've got a lot of other new parts for the Stag as well. We've got all brand new rear brakes, including all brake springs and so much new parts to go on it. So it's once we've refurbished the rear drive shafts, it's pretty much just assemble it. So that should come along quite quickly. So we're going to look at the engine in the engine room, and because that's it's 90% there now, and we will then go and show you what else we've got. Right, the engine for the green TR7 V8. So it's now pretty much all built up as a short engine. Last things I've got to do on it really to make it a complete engine is front timing cover assembly and oil pump, the oil pickup and sump, and then it's an engine pretty much ready to go. So we'll have this finished. I'll put back on this Monday afternoon as I've got a brown Stag to sort out, which we'll go and look at as well in a minute. So the specs of the engine, I think we have already gone through it. So we've got 9.75 to 1 compression ratio pistons. We've got fuel injection heads, which have got a slightly smaller combustion chamber, I believe. They're definitely measured up smaller. So we're running pretty much 11 to 1 compression ratio, which that's going to really help with the camshaft that's in there, as we've got a Newman's Fast Road, it's a Tarmac Rally Sprint camshaft, so it's a fairly aggressive camshaft. And when you fit a high like a aggressive camshaft, ideally you do need more measured compression ratio, as there's differences between measured compression ratio and dynamic compression ratio. When you put a bigger cam in there and the valves are open for longer, you're actually losing compression when the engine is running, because the valves are not closed for such a long time. So you have to up your compression ratio a bit to get to get the benefit of the cam anyway. So the bottom end's all fully balanced rotating assembly. All the pistons and rods all fully balanced, so it should go like an absolute scolded cat. So it's coming along. We're very nearly there now. So we've been cleaning and painting it all up as we go along. We've refurbished the cam covers, as when we washed them, all the paint come off. So we had to then refurbish them, so they're all nice and looking new. So we've got, obviously, as we do with all our engine builds, nice new nuts and bolts and everything. So it just really uplifts it and makes it that much better. So the aim is we're hoping to have, we've got to get a very busy week next week, but hoping to have this finished and possibly in the car towards the end of next week, and maybe even sort of fired up. We'll see. So it'd be nice to hear it run again. We've had another engine arrive. I think we'll go and quickly look at that. It's actually a Triumph Stag engine. So we'll have a quick look at this Stag engine. It's not in the best of shapes. So we'll have a quick look at that and show you what we've got to do on that one. Right, this Stag engine, we haven't got it on a stand yet as the customer didn't drop off all of the parts for it, and we're missing the engine back plate, so we've got no way of really putting it on a stand at the moment. So the story of this engine is it was in the car and it was running, and the owner of the car took it to his local garage to have basically a service, fluids and stuff like that done on it. And on the test drive, the mechanic noticed that it weren't running right and it blew the head gasket. So the customer then authorised the garage to do the work on it, and the first two cylinder head studs they tried to undo, they sheared them straight off. So typical Stag. So they then took the engine out. It then went to another Triumph specialist, and they didn't want to get involved with it, and they actually recommended us to do it, as we do a lot of Stag engines, TR7 engines, things like that. So it's here, and we've got to get the cylinder heads off and go through it. And while it's out, we've spoken to the owner. He's got no history on the engine whatsoever, as the car was stored for a very long time, and it was a barn find. So while it's out, we're going to do timing chains and guides, and we're going to also drop the sump as we always do when we do the timing chains anyway, so we can replace the sump gasket, obviously so we don't get any oil leaks. And while we're in there, we're going to pull a couple of the bearings off and check the state of the crankshaft and the bearings, as it's got a fair amount of miles on it, and it's pretty much slap bang on the miles if this engine's never been apart before, where they're going to need doing. I am 99% confident it's probably going to be through to the copper on the bearings, just looking at the way the engine's been maintained and things like that. So we'll see. Whether it turns into a full rebuild or not, who knows, but chances are it probably will do. So we'll investigate that some more when we get it on a stand and start pulling it apart. Now, the heads may be a struggle to get off. When they're that seized, sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and get another pair of heads and cut the old ones off. So we have sourced another pair of heads if we need them. Obviously, we're going to try and get them off first and save them. But if we can't, at the end of the day, we could spend hours and hours on it and then come to the same conclusion that we can't get them off, or get damaged taking them off, etc. And we're going to get another pair of heads anyway. Or we could get them apart and find out that they're completely knackered, all the waterways are heavily corroded, and they need vast amounts of welding to bring them back into serviceable condition. So how long do you spend trying to get the heads off before you bite the bullet and cut them off? So you have to sort of weigh up the costings on sourcing another pair of heads. We won't be buying recon heads because they're just extortionate, but we've managed to source a good pair of second-hand heads. They will need a refresh, but even buying them and refreshing them is still nowhere near the cost of getting the recon ones. So that's for the Stag engine. That'll be there for, we'll get on a stand anyway, and then we'll start trying to get it apart in the next few weeks, as there's not too much of a rush for that one. We have to ignore all the boxes. I'm saving all the boxes for a friend of mine who sells a lot of parts, and he likes a lot of boxes and packaging and stuff like that to send his parts in. So he's picking them up next week, hence why they're all there. We're going to have a look at the 2 new cars we've got, and we've also got another one coming in next week as well. So we've actually got a car called a Hustler coming in. Now, what that is, I'm not sure if it's Metro or Mini based. Looking at the front suspension, looking at all the front suspension setup, I'd say I've only had a brief look under there. I think it is Mini. It's an A series engine, so I think it is more Mini based than Metro, but it is on the sort of year where Metros were in as well. So when it arrives, we'll have a good look over it and actually work out what it is based on. That's coming in next week for some electrical issues and to get it running, and we've got to get it sorted out pretty quickly as there's a magazine interested in doing an article on it. So not sure which magazine it is at the moment. I can find out. So we need to get it sorted out so they can come and do their article for when it goes in the magazine. So we're going to quick look at the brown Stag, which has been in before. That's just a couple of little jobs on Monday morning, and the other new arrival as well. Right, the brown Stag. Now we had this in, I think we've had it in a couple of times actually. We had it in, no we haven't, I think we've only had it once, just to do a load of work on it. We had to do some paint work on it, and we also refurbished the rear lights and made them look nice and new again and things like that. Odds and ends really, because it's actually quite a nice car. But it's now in because it's just failed its MOT, and as a lot of my customers do, they like to keep their cars MOT'd. But the issue with classic cars, although they're tax MOT exempt, if you put it in for an MOT and it fails, you are not allowed to then drive that car until it then repasses MOT. You basically lose your MOT exemption until you've rectified them issues and got it through an MOT. So it's here just for, it's nothing major. It's got a headlight out and the indicator bulb blew on his way over here. So the left-hand indicator stopped working as well on the back. And we've then also got to change the weather strips on the doors as they're cracking and perishing. We've got new ones of them for him. And we've also got to make up a little bracket for the electric water pump, as that was fitted quite a number of, quite a while ago. Whoever fitted it didn't secure it properly, so it's only hanging in there by the hoses. So we'll make up a little bracket for that just to help secure it, and then that's good to go. So that's Monday morning's job, just to get this done for him, and then he can get it MOT and start enjoying it again. Now the other car that we've got, you've probably already seen it. It's the white Mark 1 GT6. So this, obviously, it's a very rare car now. I believe there's only a handful of Mark 1s left in existence. So it's actually not a bad car. It's been off the road now for about 4.5 to 5 years, due to it having a wiring loom fire. Now, when the owner dropped it off yesterday, I did have a chat with him, and he's not 100% sure on what caused the wiring loom to burn out. So he thinks it's possibly the ignition switch, as that was playing up when he was using the car. I'm not overly convinced on that, unless the main power battery feed to the ignition switch somehow made the body of the ignition bell go live. Something inside was worn, it started up shorting out, and it was earthing. I can't see how it caused the wiring to burn out. So as we don't know the actual cause of the loom fire, we're going to have to test every single electrical item on the car. I've also noticed it's got an alternator on the car, and it's still got its voltage regulator on the bulkhead. So maybe something on that circuit caused it. We don't know. It depends. There's no wiring left in the car now. It's all been removed. And the remnants of the old loom that we've got in the box in the back, you can't tell anything from it because there's nothing left of it. So we'd have to go through and test everything, and we'll also wire up the alternator correctly, so it's as it should be, instead of going through the voltage regulator, which that will help it out a bit as well. It will just simplify the loom. We've got a brand new loom for it, which is in the back. So yeah, it's quite a major sort of bit of work on that really to bring it back round. So especially as it hasn't run for about 5 years. So the engine was rebuilt shortly before the fire happened as well. So we'll have to go through the checks and everything on that, prime it back up with oil pressure and everything before we even try to run it. So yep, we'll have to get on that and work out what's what with it. Again, this will be in a few weeks' time. We've got to get some of the other cars sorted out first, i.e. these two. So we've got to get them two sorted out, and amongst some of the others, get them gone as well. So we've just got so much on at the moment, it's don't know which way's up. But I think that is all we've got this week. I've got quite a few photographs of some of the stuff on the Blue Stag and the engine build, so we'll put them in at the end as always. I think that's it. So please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.